Hello, my name's Bridget. I'm 36 years old and a mother to my beautiful son, Grayson, who is 7 years old. Recently, our lives got thrown into a whirlwind when I found out that my husband had been cheating on me, but I did not let him get away with it easily. Let me tell you how things went down. I met my husband Damon on a dating app. We clicked really well and we never seemed to run out of conversations. Not to mention we shared the same sense of humor and he made me laugh like no one else had. I'm only saying all this because these qualities of his blinded me from seeing all the negative qualities that he had. For starters, he was a 26-year-old man who still lived with his mother because he could not seem to hold a job down. I tried my best to get him to attend interviews for jobs that I took the time to search and apply for, but he just never seemed to care that much about it. On top of that, his mother, Shirley, hated me. I have no idea why she hated me, but now I realized that it was because I was not rich enough to enable her lazy son's lifestyle. She would always tell Damon that he could do better than me while I was standing right there. She would make snide remarks about me and would insult me at every point that she could. At no point did Damon ever stand up for me and correct his mother. Instead, he would try to make me feel better and would tell me to just ignore the things his mother said and did. And so that was what I did. I learned to ignore what Shirley said to me, even though her words hurt me. I truly was blinded by love for Damon because when he proposed to me after 2 years of dating, I said yes. Shirley was not happy about us getting engaged, and neither were my parents because they really didn't like Damon for obvious reasons. So Damon and I eloped. About a year after we got married, I got pregnant with my son, Grayson. Grayson truly was the only light in my life at that point. I say that because after giving birth to Grayson, my workload only increased. Initially, Damon got a job, and for the first few months of Grayson's life, we were doing well. But then he lost his job, and I had to pick up extra hours. Then a few months later, Damon would land himself a better job, only to lose it again. This cycle continued for the next 7 years. Until finally, Damon landed a good job after Grayson's 7th birthday. He was getting paid well, and while I didn't hold out much hope for him keeping it, he surprisingly stayed there for over 6 months, which was a huge surprise. I was finally beginning to settle into my new comfortable life until one day Damon told me about a conversation that he had with his mother. So I was talking to my mom today and she told me that she was feeling all alone at home. Yeah, I can imagine. I mean, she doesn't have many people to meet or many places to go. I just feel really bad about it, you know. Of course, I would love to go over and maybe keep her company some days after work. But you know how she doesn't like me. Yeah, I don't think that would make her feel any better. But she did propose an idea to me, and I told her that I'd run it by you before giving her an answer. Okay, what is it? She suggested that I send Grayson over every weekend, and some weekends I could even stay with the two of them. And I'm not invited at all? You know how she feels about you. I mean, you said it yourself. Yeah, but don't you think it really means that she's purposely trying to exclude me from my own family? I see where you're coming from, but I also can't just ignore my mother. You can't ignore your mother, but you can ignore and isolate your wife? That's amazing, Damon. Oh, come on. There's no need to be so dramatic about this. Just give me a straight answer, yes or no. I am not being dramatic, Damon. How would you feel if the tables were turned? Of course I'd feel bad, but this is the family we're talking about. Besides, Grayson loves Mom, and I'm sure he'd be happy to spend his time with her. I know that. It's just sad how you'll always pick your mother over me, even when she's treating me so wrong. Come on, that's not true. I always pick your side. I mean, I agree with you right now that my mom doesn't treat you right. Agreeing with me in private does not show me anything. Your actions tell me everything I need to know. Why am I even fighting you on this? Do whatever you want. My relationship with Shirley hadn't gotten any better even after I gave birth to Grayson. I knew she did not like me in any way, but for her to actively exclude me from any and all family time that I had with Grayson made me so angry and upset. Damon kept pressing me for an answer as the weekend drew nearer. At some point, I realized that I needed to prioritize Grayson over my feelings, so I asked him if he would like to spend his weekends with his grandmother. Grayson was enthusiastic about the idea, so I told Damon that he could go. The first weekend that Grayson went over to Shirley's house, Damon also accompanied him, so I was left at home all alone. Even though I felt sad, I took that alone time. I finally got to rest up and spend some quality time with my family and friends. When Grayson returned on Sunday evening, I noticed that he had been dropped off by Shirley's friend and that he came back home with a bag of gifts for him. I got a call from Shirley shortly after. "Hello, Bridget. Did Grayson reach home safely?" "Hi, Shirley. Yes, he just did. I'm so sorry that I could not drop him off myself. I had some important errands to run." "It's okay. Grayson's home safe. He had a blast at your place. Thank you for having him over." "Of course. I love having him over. Thanks for agreeing to it. I hope I'm not taking away any of your time with Grayson." "No, it's okay. I make time for him daily. Besides, he loves going over to your place, especially now that you spoil him with gifts, which, by the way, thank you so much." "Nonsense. There's no need to thank me. Grayson is my only grandson, so I have to spoil him as best I can." "Yeah, Grayson takes very good care of the gifts you give him. It's the first time I've seen him be so careful with things, really." "That's good to hear. But even if he didn't take care of them, I'd still buy him those things again. After all, I have that kind of money to spend on him." "Yeah, well, I think it's still a good lesson for him to learn." "The lesson is that he always has to take good care of his things because his mother is too poor to buy him things again." "Excuse me?" "Look, between you and I only invited Grayson over every weekend because I was tired of seeing him look poor. You're clearly not doing enough to provide for him, so I want to spoil him." "Why are you blaming me for that? Your son can barely hold down a job, so I'm the one who's stuck paying all the bills and looking after us. Don't you dare blame Damon for anything. The poor boy's been through enough." "What are you even talking about? If it wasn't for me, we'd be starving in the streets right now." "He has to deal with an incompetent wife like you. Of course his mental health is in the gutter right now, which is not allowing him to hold down a job." "You know what? You're absolutely insane. You can't see a single flaw in your son, and even if you do, you're just projecting them onto me. That's something you need to seek help for." "You don't tell me what to do. I can see why else Damon is always stressed out. You just always have an answer for everything. I don't want to talk to you much anyway. I only called to check in on Grayson. Bye." I couldn't believe the nerve that Shirley had to talk to me in that manner. I wanted to call her back and really chew her out for being so mean to me, but I didn't. I knew that we already had a very rocky relationship, and the last thing I wanted was for Grayson to recognize that there was something wrong between his mother and grandmother. So even though I didn't want to send Grayson over to Shirley's after that conversation, I continued to do it because it made him happy. I never spoke to Shirley after that either, because that was the only way that I knew how to keep my mind at peace. That's how things went for the next 3 months until one day Grayson came back home from Shirley's house carrying a very expensive-looking bag. A quick look at the price tag told me that it was $1,000. "Whoa, what a nice bag." "I know, right?" Oh, wow. This is a designer bag. And hold on. Is this a price tag? It's it's very expensive. Yeah, Grandma told me that I needed to be extra careful with this bag because it's really expensive. Grayson, sweetie, I think you need to give Grandma the backpack back. What? Why? Because it's a very expensive backpack. You might dirty it or even lose it. Besides, I don't think it'll look nice when you walk into class with this bag. Other children might damage it too. But I like this bag. I know, sweetie, but I really don't think it's wise for you to walk around with such an expensive bag. Why don't you give it back to Grandma so she can keep it safely till you grow just a little bit older? Why would I return the bag to Grandma? Because she bought you the bag, silly. No, she didn't. What do you mean? Did Daddy buy you the bag? He doesn't have that kind of money, though. No, Grandma didn't buy the bag, but my new mom did. New mom? Sweetie, what are you talking about? Daddy made me go over to Grandma's every weekend so he could introduce me to my new mom. She's so rich and pretty, and she buys me everything I want. And Grandma knows about this new mom? Yeah, Daddy told me that Grandma made Daddy and new mom meet. Daddy says that she makes him very happy. Do you like your new mom, sweetie? Yes, I like her a lot. She always tells me that when she becomes my new mom officially, she's going to take me far away with my dad. Oh, okay. That's enough about the new mom. Why don't you get washed up and we'll eat dinner together? I tried to make sense of what Grayson told me, but I really couldn't. Of course, I knew deep down inside what Grayson was actually saying. Damon was cheating on me with someone that Shirley probably introduced him to, considering how she always thought that I was no good for her son. I didn't want to believe that at all, and I tried to put that conversation with Grayson out of my mind for the rest of the week. But I found myself unable to do that, and just 3 days later I finally gave in and went through Damon's phone when he fell asleep. What I found shocked me to my core. Damon was cheating on me, and it was with a woman named Vivian. A quick look at her socials told me that she was the daughter of one of the biggest businessmen in our city, and she was a civil lawyer. That explains how she was able to give Grayson such an expensive gift. That was not the shocking part, though. The shocking part was that Damon had told Vivian that he had divorced me and talked about me like I was a wicked ex who only tormented him and took away his full custody of Grayson. He invented lie after lie about how I ruined his life and how I was the reason that he struggled to get a job. The job that he had was because Vivian pitied him and found him that job. My blood was boiling. I couldn't believe that I spent all my time and energy working so hard to provide for this man-child, only for him to throw it all in my face and call me wicked. I texted Vivian from my social media account and introduced myself to her the next day. I told her that I had something important to tell her and asked her if we could meet at a coffee shop the next day. She agreed. The next day I was nervous, but I knew that I was doing the right thing. Eventually, Vivian walked in and approached me. Hey, I'm Vivian. Are you Bridget? Yes, hi. It's so nice to meet you. You too. So, what are we meeting about? First of all, I just wanted to thank you for the expensive gift that you gave my son, Grayson. It really was such a sweet gesture, but I really don't think it's right for a child to have such an expensive bag. Oh, no, it's okay. Damon told me that you would not really like the expensive bag. I didn't mean to offend you in any way, though. I just wanted to give it to Grayson because I thought he'd like it. Grayson loved it, but I still don't think it's appropriate. But what do you mean by you didn't mean to offend me? Well, Damon told me that you were struggling as a single parent, and that seeing such an expensive bag would probably hurt your ego. Wow, that's rich coming from him. But speaking of Damon, the other reason that I asked you to meet me was about him. Oh, what about him? It seems like he's told you that he and I have divorced and we share custody of Grayson. Yes, well, his mother told me, actually. Her mom and my mom are friends that happened to reconnect a few months ago. My mom told his mom that I was single, so they set us up. Oh, wow. Okay. I did not know that, but I need to tell you that Damon and I are still very much married. What? You're lying to me. Damon told me that you tried to sabotage our relationship because you were jealous, that he was moving on. I have no reason to lie. Where do you think Damon lives? With his mother? No way. I'm the one that he still lives with because we're still married. I have to say, this is very pathetic of you to do. I didn't think you were the best person to begin with, but to lie and sabotage someone's relationship out of pure jealousy, it's just sad. Do me a favor. The next time you see Damon, why don't you ask him to show you our divorce certificate? You have my number in case you want to get even with him. I watched silently as Vivian grabbed her things up and left me sitting at the same table. She stormed off angrily towards her car. I hoped really hard that my words had some impact on her and she'd take me up on my suggestion. I sat at that coffee shop for a little while longer because I really did not feel like going back home, until I eventually left to go back home. I looked into Vivian some more because I was curious about what kind of person she was. She was apparently a really good person. She volunteered for a lot of different things depending on how much free time she had. She regularly donated to women's and children's homes and overall seemed to be a generous person. That made me understand just why Grayson adored her so much. Not for her generosity only, but also because she was genuinely a nice person. The more I thought about it, the more I really did feel bad for Vivian. If I found out that my relationship with someone turned out to be a lie that resulted in me doing something that I was okay with, I would not want to believe it. I really prayed and hoped that Vivian would see that I was right, because I wanted more than anything to ruin Damon's life for what he did to me and Grayson, and our family. My prayers were answered in 2 weeks. I was at work when I got a call from an unknown number. I didn't pick it up at first because I don't pick up unknown calls, but the number called me again and again, back to back. Eventually, I picked it up and realized that it was Vivian on the other end. My heart was in my throat because of how nervous I was about what she was going to tell me. Hey, Bridget, can we talk? Hi, yes, of course. Is everything all right? No, it's not. Did I prove you right, or are you going to yell at me again? I'm so sorry for the way I left you last time we met. It's okay. I understand that it's hard to digest information like that. It really was. I'm a woman who has very strict morals, and helping a man cheat on his partner or spouse is something I absolutely loathe. I would never have done it, and I'm so sorry that I did it with your husband. Whoa, how did you confirm that Damon was married? Well, for the past week or so, I kept badgering him with questions about the divorce. I kept asking to see the divorce papers. Let me guess. He snapped at you eventually. Oh yeah, big time. He started yelling at me at the top of his lungs. Aside from a lot of cuss words, he also called me insecure for not trusting him. That immediately raised a lot of alarms in my head. Not surprised that Damon wouldn't change even when he was with another woman, but how did you get the confirmation for his lies? I approached Shirley. She was the one that introduced me to Damon, so she had to have the answers. She did not give you your answer easily, did she? I knew she wouldn't, so I approached like how I would approach my clients. I essentially goaded it out of her. When she realized that she had slipped up, she kept apologizing for tricking me and told me that she had no option because Damon was in a miserable relationship. She told me that Damon was still in the process of filing for a divorce, but even I knew that was a lie. Oh, wow. What did you say to that? I just told her that she and her son were disgusting people. I picked my things up and left. I called you immediately to apologize. I really am sorry for coming in between you and Damon. You have nothing to apologize for. Damon and Shirley tricked you. If you had known, you never would have involved yourself in a relationship with him. Besides, you've made your amends by believing me and asking for proof of divorce. You told me last time that you wanted to take revenge. Is that option still on the table? Of course. I just need to figure out how to go about doing it, and I kind of was counting on your legal advice to help plan out a revenge. Oh, I've got a lot of good ideas to get back at Damon. How about we meet at the same coffee shop tomorrow and plan everything out? That sounds good. I was so happy that Vivian was a good person with a conscience. I was even happier that I managed to get her on my side. We met up the next day at the coffee shop. Vivian looked like she hadn't slept at all, and my heart really went out to her because I was in the same boat as her. I understood her heartbreak all too well. That understanding that we shared was actually, in an odd way, comforting. We spent the first hour of our meeting just talking about how we felt. We even cried a little. I felt like I had found a new friend in her. As funny as that is, it was true. Once we were done feeling our feelings, we got to talking about our plan. Within half an hour, we had drawn up our plan. Vivian was a woman of immense influence, and she used her influence and connections to help Damon get his good job. In the same way that she had gotten him that job, she took his job away from him. But that was not before she helped me out. She got me acquainted with a lawyer friend of hers who specialized in divorces. Her friend helped me get all my affairs in order and also helped me gather all the proof and evidence necessary to get full custody of Grayson. I started the filing process for the divorce, and when we got the divorce papers in our hands, we planned to drop both news on Damon at the same time to worsen the blow and embarrass him. So Vivian pulled her strings and had Damon fired publicly, to be fair. He was lousy with his work, and the only reason that he was still working there was because of Vivian's connections. On top of that, I had the divorce papers served to him just after he got fired in front of all his colleagues. It didn't take long for Damon to call me and demand answers for what was happening. What is this? Oh, I see that you got the divorce papers. Yes, and they were served to me while I was at work. Do you know how embarrassing that was for me, especially on the day that I lost my job? You lost your job? That does not matter. Why are you trying to divorce me? Are you serious? Of course I am. What have I done to you to deserve this? Damon, don't try and act like you've been the perfect husband. I'm tired of you, and I want out. Is this all about my mother? Can you not for 1 second make everything about you and your feelings? Do my feelings not matter at all? I mean, I totally see why my mother hates you. Right. That's why you were cheating on me with Vivian, your mom's friend's daughter. What? How do you think you lost your job, huh? You planned this. More like Vivian was more than angry that you lied to her about being divorced. She has some very strict morals, all of which you knew apparently, and you made her violate them. What did you say to her? I only told her that you were still married to me. That set her off, and she took her revenge. Now it's my turn. You can't leave me. I have nothing. How do I live now? Go live with your mother, who cares so much for you that she enables you to cheat on your hard-working wife and break your family. Look, I'm so sorry. I promise I'll be better. I'll cut all ties with my mom. Please don't leave me. You already told Vivian that we were divorced, and I'm just making this a reality. Everything that you want to do to make up for your pathetic behavior will not work. It's a little too late for apologies. What did you expect from me? The two most important women in my life hated each other's guts, and I was always in the middle of the crossfire. And you still chose your mother, which means I was never important to you from the start. I really don't have anything more to discuss with you like this. Just get yourself a lawyer and communicate with mine. You need to take your things and get out of this house. You can't make me leave my own home. Is it your house? Because last time I checked, the house is in my name and I've been the only one that's paid for the mortgage. I've packed your things. Take it and leave. I hung up on Damon after that. It broke my heart that things had to end this way. I really tried my absolute best to be the person that he'd love and cherish. But getting my revenge on him made me feel like everything I did for him was justified, especially since he only felt apologetic when he realized that he lost both the women that he was trying to mooch off of. His audacity was truly astounding, and I wanted nothing more to do with him. I called my dad over to be with me until Damon came back because I didn't think that he'd actually leave on his own. Thankfully, my dad arrived about 10 minutes before Damon showed up. When Damon came home, he didn't see my dad and began to yell at me at the top of his lungs because I was not a good wife, and told me that that was the reason that he found another woman to look after his needs. My dad came when he heard what was happening from the living room and came in to tell Damon that it was pathetic that he relied on someone else to provide for him instead of getting a proper job to do that for himself. Damon shrunk back into himself when he saw my dad, who is a big, muscly guy, by the way, and always intimidated Damon because my dad never liked him. Damon picked his things up with his head hanging low and walked out of the house, but not before dropping the signed divorce papers in front of me. He knew it was not going to be a smart decision to contest a divorce, especially since he wouldn't have the funds to pay for a lawyer. It was really hard to tell Grayson about why his dad was no longer going to be around the house. Grayson was thankfully really understanding. He did ask me about Vivian, and I told him that Vivian would swing by every once in a while to meet him. She really did take a liking to him and asked me if she could continue to visit him from time to time, and I knew that Grayson really liked her too, so I saw no point in stopping them from seeing each other, especially since she helped me get my revenge on Damon. I knew that she was a good person who was just coerced into doing something bad. My divorce with Damon is still under process, but Grayson and I are moving on to better things. Now that I have a freer budget, I get to actually spoil my son, and seeing him so happy is the only thing that's keeping me going. Vivian and I have become good friends, and we meet up every other week, and sometimes even have a good long laugh at Damon. Using her connections, Vivian told me that Damon is still struggling to make ends meet, and he's back to living with his mother. He's been applying everywhere to get a better job, but Vivian made sure that he would not get a job in his field in our city at all. At best, he'd have to move away, or he'd have to settle for working in low-paying jobs. Whatever it is, I'm happy that my son and I have come away from that experience completely fine and happy. Thank you for listening to my story.